Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats?
Yes, it did.
I hope you got me something to eat.
Maybe.
Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party.
Right now.
I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party.
Right now.
Oh, chocolate and dabbing, maybe some microphone dabbing at the after party.
With DJ Eric, Paige,
And Lance. Throw that in there at the end. All right, so welcome to the after party, as the song always says. Appreciate everybody being here. Good Saturday, everyone. Hope you've been having a great week. It went from really warm here to really cold, which is weird. We were like, here in Virginia, it was like 65, 65, 70, and then 40, and then 50. I'm like, can we just get to spring already? I just want to, can we get to the nice weather? I got stuff I want to do. Anyway, I'm joined today by this picture, Paigey, Ayo.
Ayo.
Yeah. And we have Lance as well. So thank you guys so much for being here. So I have a Moon Knight review, but I'm like, when I looked yesterday and noticed that YouTube, the numbers were not good for anything that wasn't April Fool's, because people were expecting fake videos yesterday. So I'm like, do I want to upload a brand new video for a brand new show on a day when nobody is watching videos? Probably not. So I decided not to. It was very light on YouTube yesterday. I don't know if y'all noticed. A lot of channels did not put out videos yesterday. Paigey, where was your video? Don't you always do an April Fool's video?
I haven't done one for 3 years. I've had 3 people message me that, and I was like, I haven't done one for 3 years. I stopped, and to explain why, I stopped doing them because people kept just taking the opportunity to just do clickbait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to name it a certain channel, but it might have the abbreviations of CBC, who it wasn't even April Fool's. It was just clickbait.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point is, if you're doing a video, it's meant to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no joke, it's just intentions to get clickbait and get views.
I would say for April Fool's, if you're going to make a video on April Fool's, it needs to be obvious that it's a funny video.
Yeah, or you do a slow build up, so at least by halfway through the video, there's a sense that it's a joke.
Right, like Danny DeVito cast as Superman. Like that's an April Fool's video.
Well, not even that. Like, it would be like I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think my last one I did, I think I went out with a bang when I did it. Was did I do a Pen 15 one? Oh, yeah, I remember the Pen 15. I remember the Pen 15. No, it was Earth 15, but it was like it translates to Pen 15 or something on that Earth's language or something. But the one I did, which I think was my funniest one, was the Dude Where's My Car, Godspeed and Red Death video.
Oh, I remember that one.
Example where you do like the slow build up, and then you mention one little thing and it should make someone go, not too sure about that one. And then you just pretty much dump the entire joke there.
Yeah.
And you don't just do like a fake video going, Hugh Jackman's back as Wolverine. Oh, by the way, April Fool's. Like, no, that's not how you do it. That's just clickbaiting.
That is clickbait. So yeah, so I avoided videos yesterday, but the Weekly Geekly returns on Monday night. We will be talking about Moon Knight over there. And so
Weekly
everyone get ready
Cheekly?
for it. So yeah. Spoiler alert, I actually really liked, I don't know, have you guys seen the first episode of Moon Knight yet?
Are you gonna say Morbius?
No. I will give you a moment to talk about that though, because I do have a comment about that. I saw the first episode of Moon Knight, and spoiler alert, I think it's going to be a really good series. I'm actually enjoying it. I think it's solid. I think I'm going to like it a lot more than Hawkeye, so that's good, because Hawkeye was kind of a lull for me in terms of like the shows. So this is adding mystery. It's, you know what I think is good about Moon Knight, without spoiling anything, is that I think the amount of disconnect it has from the other material is going to be a benefit to that show, because all the other spinoff shows we've had have been connected to like characters that have already existed in the other properties. This one is kind of a brand new one. It's coming out with a brand new story, people we've never met before. I actually think that's going to help it. I don't know if it'll help it trend or not, because trending's always like, is Quicksilver going to be on WandaVision and, Loki this, Loki that.
Yeah,
I don't know if it's going to help it trend.
Or something.
Yeah, I think Moon Knight is going to benefit from not having all those connections. They'll be able to basically tell their own story. So I quite enjoyed it. You guys have any opinions about it without spoilers? Moon Knight.
I liked it. What am I trying to say? I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoyed the mystery of it all and the fact that you really have to pay attention to every little detail, because it's basically everything that you see on screen is a part of the story and the mystery, especially revolving around Stephen Grant / Mark Spector.
Right.
So a lot of that and dealing with the whole DID personality disorder stuff. I'm glad that they added in that aspect. That way people won't be like, oh, he's just Robert Pattinson's Batman.
Right. The suit looks really good. I was kind of worried. The suit looks really good. So.
Yeah.
So, Paige, any quick thoughts on Moon Knight?
You're lucky because I actually watched it last night. I only just watched it last night. So, yeah, I thought it was. I wish they'd released 2 episodes, but I thought it was like 8 or 9. It's only 6 episodes, so I understand why they only released 1. I wish they'd released 2 though, because it's a lot of build up. It feels like the first half an hour of a movie almost, the first episode. But that's the thing; it felt like a movie.
Yeah,
I think it's the first one that felt like a movie.
I agree with that.
So I'm interested to see how it plays out for 5 more.
It's
episodes.
A very cinematic TV show. Like that's.
I just even think the pacing of it. Like if you told me it was the first half an hour of a movie, I'd go, oh yeah, because it literally, stereotypical superhero movie. You get that first little thing about half an hour, 40 minutes in or something, and it sort of felt like that. So I'm intrigued to see how it goes. I'm still not too sure. Like there was some things like I thought like it did like maybe like rush a tiny bit to lead to that end action scene without spoiling exactly what it is. But that was like my only gripe with it, because I think Oscar Isaac. I think they're lucky they have Oscar Isaac though.
Oh, he makes that character. I can't see anybody else in that character now. Period.
Yeah, like I think they needed like a top caliber actor, I think, to pull this off. Just like with Split, when they did Split, you needed someone good to do it.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder if, because Split was well received, that's why they wanted to do Moon Knight this way.
Yeah.
Where he constantly shifts in like in this fashion as well. So,
okay, so yeah, it's funny. Okay, so quickly, because I actually canceled my tickets for Morbius. I saw like not one person saying anything good about it. And typically I don't let other people sway me, but when I don't see one ray of light in a review somewhere, I'm like, I'm just going to wait. So I am going to see it, but I'm not going to see it right away. I'll probably go on Monday or Tuesday. But from what I can tell, there's not a lot to spoil from the movie, because how you think the movie is going to go is exactly how it goes. Like there's nothing to
it's
spoil.
not even that there's no story.
Yeah,
things just happen.
And didn't you say that you were disappointed in it, Paige? You didn't like it very much?
Like the expectations weren't high, but like the meme, it's like our expectations were low, but holy shit, that meme with the thing, like that's pretty much what it was.
So is Jared Leto officially Hollywood kryptonite now?
Thing is that it's not even his fault. It's bad. Like, is he good in it? No, because he doesn't really, like when they do comedy, it comes off really creepy when he does it. So it's not his fault the movie's bad,
right?
But I don't know why he keeps taking these roles.
Like, yeah. You just, if you pay in advance and you don't want to go, you just get money back.
I think you have to cancel at least is it like 2 hours before your session or something? Yeah. At least in Australia, that's the case.
Someone was asking if I like Moon Knight better than Falcon and Winter Soldier, but it's one episode. I won't know until the whole series.
That's why. But even then, like when people go, it's the best Disney Plus series ever. It's like, how would you know? It's one episode in. Like you have to wait till it's done.
All right, well, let's move on and talk about the edginess. We have some news here from Ezra Miller, and let's go ahead and read through this in case people have not seen this yet. I'm pretty sure most people have seen this, but let's go ahead. We're going to run through this. There's a lot of people
I
calling.
must say, hold on.
Yeah.
Ezra Miller's looking a lot like you in that photo, Eric.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
yeah, just something I noticed out of the get go.
I want that.
I did
chiseled
see some
chin.
people
I want
say
the
that
chiseled
Ezra
chin.
looked like the berries and cream.
What?
You know, they're like the berries and cream.
Yeah. There are a lot of calls for Ezra to be removed from the movie. Let me say this. I doubt very seriously that is going to happen unless something massive
What about
happens with Ezra.
Grant Gustin
What are they
deepfake?
gonna do? Oh yeah, they can do
Grant
that.
Gustin deepfake onto Ezra Miller's performance.
Yeah. I mean, let's run through this. Okay, so it's not very much to go through, but we'll just kind of recap everyone. Ezra Miller was arrested early Monday and charged with disorderly conduct and harassment, Hawaii police announced. The Flash star, who identifies as non-binary and uses they, them pronouns, they actually added that because that was not in the original article, had been at a karaoke bar Sunday night when they began yelling obscenities and became agitated when people began singing karaoke. So you go to a karaoke
You don't want to be
bar
around Ezra Miller then, Eric, because we know how you love karaoke.
I know, exactly. At one point, Miller allegedly grabbed the microphone from a woman who was mid-song and later lunged at a man playing darts. So he was like, this is not the person you would want around you during a Supergirl episode or, where they're at the bar. You would not want, this is not the Barry Allen you would want in that situation. The Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them actor was arrested shortly after midnight, charged and released after posting a $500 bail, which is actually kind of low, but I think we have to remember that it was probably just it wasn't a huge thing. It was probably just a small infraction.
Yeah, it's not like it was a shooting or like a full-on bashing or something like that.
Yeah, and then it's like the comments were, "Oh, you want to fight?" And then saying, "Whoa, bro." So, yeah. All right. So, but there's more to this. I found this as well. There was actually some other news that came out that I was pretty shocked about. And it was the fact that there was even more
drama
stuff happening. Yeah. So Ezra Miller is subject of 10 police calls in Hawaii in less than a month. 10 police calls in less than a month. So it says here, Ezra Miller was a problem. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, there is the possibility that Ezra Miller was filming a documentary called How Much Can You Get Away With? Like, that's how it's titled. Obviously, it ends 10 incidences into the documentary. So let's see what the complete wrap-up is.
It says here, Ezra Miller was a problem in Hawaii long before they were finally arrested on Monday. Hawaii police received at least 10 calls about the Flash star since March 7th. It's unclear how long Miller, who hails from Vermont, had been staying on the island. The phone calls were over a manini incident, a Hawaiian pidgin term meaning minor or small, including filming people at a gas station and refusing to leave the sidewalk area of a restaurant. They had the previous article that we just talked about. And police later escorted Miller off of a Hilo-based couple's property after the perks of being a wallflower actor allegedly busted into their bedroom and threatened them, stating, "I will bury you and your wife," according to a temporary restraining order. What?
He's taking this Flash thing too seriously, huh?
I mean, is he Eobard or Barry? I don't know which character he's playing.
This is negative Flash. Yeah, I think this is what we're saying.
I mean, okay. So, Lance, you said you had a theory about all this, and do you want to talk about that here for a second?
I honestly I think he went out and partied a little too. I don't think he can hold his liquor. This is like it's horrible behavior, and he. At this point, he's just making himself look really stupid because people already don't want him in the role.
Right.
The film has already been delayed since I only had one kid. I'm going on 4. Yeah. At this point, if we hear next week that Warner Brothers said, okay, you know what? We're going to...
You should say Warner Brothers. I can't afford 5 tickets for the kids. I can only afford 4.
Right. Now I got to take 5 kids and me and my wife.
I'm going to take out a mortgage now to get these tickets.
I could honestly, if it doesn't seem like they're doing it, it's like they're just sitting on their hands. But it's making everybody look bad because you got, and I've seen plenty of people on TikTok, social media say this. You got rid of Ray Fisher for less. So, honestly, Ezra, I was excited for the film. You put out all the stuff after the initial choke slam. We let that go.
Right.
But now you're not the Barry Allen that I want.
Right.
I don't. If Grant Gustin did this, trust and believe.
I think Ezra must have like
out of there.
He must have like a golden ticket with Warner Brothers or something.
I think it's with Ezra. He's like, what's the word? I think he's locked into a lot of stuff that they've got going on, whether it's the DC stuff or even the Fantastic Beasts stuff. Because I don't think Warner Brothers would want to be going, we're going to publicly bash Ezra or fire him or discipline him just as a movie that has his face all over it is coming out in literally 4 days or 5 days. So I don't think they really want that happening, or would really want to go about that. It wouldn't surprise me at all. They wait a week or two and then it comes out that Warner Brothers has disciplined Ezra in some way, shape, or form. But with the Flash movie, what are they meant to do?
They would have to remake an entire film. He's the star.
Or the only thing I can think of is that this version of Barry,
they are the
Flash
star of the
points
movie.
himself out of existence.
Yeah.
And then, like, all of a sudden, like, we go into like an end credit scene. He's like, I feel different.
Is my brother going to be right?
Is John Wesley ship?
My brother's the Flash movie is never coming out.
It's to the point where the meme where like just make Grant Gustin the Flash should just be a reality. I mean, because at that point, like, what are you going to do? Like, it's super confusing as well because they went out of their way to bring. Well, they didn't go out of their way, but things lined up well where they went, okay, well, we can do this now to bring Kiersey Clemens back as well as Iris, because she was originally going to get recast, but because of COVID, they were able to bring her in again. So I don't see them recasting Barry Allen again with this. So I think that they're going to just try and work around it with Ezra, but at the same time, they've got to, they need to put him on a contract because I think they did this with Robert Downey. No, it wasn't Robert Downey Jr. Who was it? There's probably multiple cases of it, but like it's like a strictness thing,
Right.
You have to go to AA meetings or rehab or whatever it is because it's clear he's got an alcohol issue. Like it's like if you look at what's the common denominator around all this stuff, it's either alcohol or he's at a freaking bar itself. Like two of the things have been at bars.
They're going to reshoot the movie, and the end credit scene is going to be Ezra's Barry getting erased from existence, and they're going to replace him with someone else. I bet that's
John Wesley ship. That way he can match up with Michael Keaton's Batman.
What about?
That's actually a good point. Wow, I didn't think about that. Yeah, actually, that Flash show was made because of the Batman movie, so that's funny.
What if there's the possibility that they make it that Eobard comes in and slices off his face? So then there has to be some sort of like surgery around it. It's a bit graphic, but is it the good solution?
Would he be using the lightning rod to slice it, or will they give him Zoom-like claws to just?
I think it's like a combination of everything. I think it's like a lightning dagger throw, and it just sort of slices around his face perfectly, and
like
the skin
Cicada
sort of folds off.
Like Cicada there.
Yeah, I guess.
So, in all seriousness, though, I do want to point this out. If there obviously, like you were saying, Lance, there seems to be an alcohol issue.
Yep.
And I don't know if there's people around Ezra who are not watching after him with this, because it seems like they are by themselves all the time. I was
going to say, it seems like Ezra is just, lone survivor, Hawaii edition. That's what it sounds like in regards to this story.
Like 10 times and nobody has done anything yet. And he's just building on top of this terrible behavior. Yeah, he needs AA or something.
Something's going on.
I think it could be an ego issue as well. Because I mean, some of the stuff that's been said, it sounds like it could be an ego issue.
I mean, I'm only assuming that Ezra is out by themselves because we don't ever hear about anyone with Ezra in any of these things. It's always like just Ezra doing this thing, So anyway, all right, we're gonna move on. We got some news here about Batwoman. If you're a Batwoman fan, they are begging you. They're begging you to go and watch and support the show.
Oh my goodness, I didn't realize they did this.
Yeah,
I thought it was going to be just a tweet.
Not
saying,
only did they do this, but look at the font. Like, this is literally like somebody used their phone to make this poster. It's just like
it honestly looks like the font that Ben uses in his video.
Maybe it is. I don't know.
Did Ben?
Okay, so the only thing about this that makes me giggle a little bit, because we all know I enjoy Batwoman, but this is a bit much, right? So what makes me giggle is the very top part of it says renew Batwoman. It's like the writers are sort of worried, right? I think they're worried about this because it says join us on Twitter today, 12/2/3. Celebrate the arrival of Batwoman's third season on HBO Max. Stream season 3 and share your appreciation, favorite scenes, memories, and why Batwoman should be renewed. Include renewed Batwoman in your post. That part of it makes me worry a little bit. I know that they're under the same, like, they're in the same situation as a lot of shows right now, but this doesn't look good for the show, right? I mean, we're just from perception. I'm not talking about logistics or whether or not they're actually going to be renewed. This looks a little sketch, and it makes me a little bit worried. What are your thoughts on this, either of you, Lance or Paigey? What do you think about this?
I'll chime in first. I think this was a little bit much because Rahul Khalili, whatever his name is, however you pronounce it, he just did Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, and they brought up this very thing. Television productions are going back to pre-COVID. A lot of these shows, in Smallville included, iZombie, a lot of that stuff, they didn't find out if they were getting renewed until the day before the upfronts.
Mm-hmm.
They had moved out. They went back to wherever they were living at before just to find out, oh, we have to go back. You're still being held on that contract. I feel as if the Batwoman team knows this, but they got spoiled because they showed up right when COVID showed up.
Right.
And
so they've been used to those early renewals, basically.
Yes, but just like the CW only renewed 7 shows, ABC originally for the 2022-2023 season only renewed Station 19, Abbott Elementary, and Grace. They only had 3 shows renewed since last year.
Mm-hmm.
They just added at least 2 more shows. So now they only have a total of 5. It's a waiting game. And them doing this, I get, they want to push the morale. They want to get it out there to let the people know. But the CW knows already.
Right.
They know that people don't want to see these shows go. It's not a fact of them not caring. It's just they're trying to get back to normal.
Right.
And by waiting this long, it may piss some people off. But hey, it's what they want to do. It's what they've been doing. We have to get used to it again because we've been spoiled by early renewals.
Right.
No, someone just put in the chat, someone will share their favorite scene, but it'll be from season 1 with Ruby Rose.
They have been doing that.
Have they?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So if you want Batwoman to come back, do what the writers tell you and head over and do your renew Batwoman hashtags on HBO Max. Paige, anything you want to say about that before we talk about this Legends comment?
Look, it was just a G.I. Jane joke. That's all. Okay, no.
Oh, no. Here we go. All right. So we also had an article over at TV Line. Paige shared this with me because he knew that I would talk about this. He knew that I would bring it up. About Legends.
Course. You and articles?
Yeah. It's a thing with Legends here. All right. We're going to talk about this. This was from TV Line, and this was a question that was asked about the Legends of Tomorrow renewal. And the response went basically just as I expected, and it just confirmed for me. It says, still crossing my fingers for a Legends of Tomorrow renewal. Any scoop on the season 8 if there is one? The response is, if the show is renewed, Zari will indeed be sans her special abilities, meaning this will be after or without, after handing over her totem to Nate in the season 7 finale. Spoilers for Legends. We don't want her to have superpowers anymore.
What?
It feels like Zari is a different kind of superhero and someone who's going to have to discover a different kind of power she's already tapped into. Her incredible kindness and empathy and her willingness to go above and beyond to help someone in need really is her superpower. And we want the show to show all the ways we celebrate that as her story continues. She's not someone who needs to blow down doors or to send hurricanes after people. That didn't feel right for her anymore, which is why she so willingly parts with it at the end of the season.
What? That's stupid.
This just shows me that the show is doing exactly what I said. I said this like 3 years ago. They don't want superpowers on Legends. They do not want these characters to have superpowers. They want a time travel show like Doctor Who with a variety of characters in the cast that just bumble around and can't get stuff done. That's what they want. And this just goes to prove that.
They want a sitcom.
Yeah, they want it to be a sitcom. You're absolutely right.
They want it to be like Seinfeld. Seinfeld on space.
And this makes me worried for Booster Gold because although he's not like a Superman or a Green Lantern or anything like that, he does have powers. He uses technology and things that give him powers. So are we not going to get that? Is Booster Gold just going to be a comedy character with absolutely nothing, no special weapons, no powers, no nothing? Because look at it now. They are eliminating everything and everyone that requires special effects. We're going to get to a point on Legends, if it's renewed, where there's nothing they're doing except for the spaceship is the only thing that's going to be in special effects.
Or Gary if he goes alien or something like that.
If he's still there, he may move on. We don't know. I mean,
or they'll be like, "Oh, I pricked a magic plant on this random planet, and now I'm stuck as a human-looking dude."
And
how unfortunate! I can't be an alien anymore.
Let's be clear here. Taking away her powers doesn't mean anything because the show randomly forgets that people have powers all the time. Exactly. So she could still do everything they're saying in this post and still have access to the totem. You could have both. Why take away one just because? It doesn't make any sense.
And Anthony, it doesn't necessarily have to do. It doesn't have to do with CW budget. It comes down to you have to perform to get a certain amount of funding. So it's based off that, and also because they could just end Legends if they wanted to, and invest that money into something else and give another show more money, whatever it might be.
I don't know how that was slandered to Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a very successful show.
Well, Doctor Who is low budget as well.
Well, it is, but Doctor Who is not a superhero show. That's my point.
Yeah,
it wasn't slander towards Doctor Who. Doctor Who is a time travel show. That was what I was saying. They want this to be Doctor Who. And like you said, they want it to be a sitcom. So they want it to be a sitcom version of Doctor Who is what they want.
Okay, can we get... What would you think? Okay, so let's just make it that the Wave Rider explodes, everyone dies, but they do a next season of Legends. Do you think they should do Legends of Tomorrow All-Stars? So it's sitcom All-Stars that are now Legends of Tomorrow. Would you want that?
No.
So no George Costanza on the Wave Rider?
No. Nothing like that.
What about Kramer? That'd be a comeback.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
I do have a question though.
Yeah.
I want to get both of you guys' insight.
Uh-oh.
Since it is the 10th anniversary of the Arrowverse as a whole. We know we're getting this book with the retired legends. It's a reason why they're using the retired legends that actually, do something in that comic. The ones that still, Ray, Jax is the new Captain Cold, yada, yada, yada. Do you think that they are going to, if they do an event, which we're all hoping they are, if they do a crossover event to celebrate, do you think Legends will be a part of it? Or do you think they will go and, grab like Ray and Mick and the Hawks or something?
It would make more sense for them to grab other people, but I don't know. Legends doesn't ever feel like it fits in with the crossovers anyway, which is why it's usually just one character.
Yeah, I don't know, like what they would do. Like I could see if they do a 10th and you'd bring Ray back because he was a part of the universe for so long. You'd bring Sarah. That's probably where you cut off maybe Zari. But they might do something where it's like the alternate Zari or something like that.
I still feel like season 2 of Legends was the best cast that we had. The only person that I think I would add in from like a later season would either be Constantine or the first Zari.
I liked Wally when he was on Legends. He felt more like
good. That's true.
Felt more like Wally.
Well, who left in season 2 to season 3?
Captain Cold was gone from season 1 to season 2, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, but who was season 2? It was the same.
I don't think
season 3 they added Zari.
Oh wait. No, Jax left season 3.
Yeah, I think season
4.
3 was the best cast because then you also got Wally in it towards the end.
Oh,
as
yeah,
well.
that's a good point.
Wally replaced Jax.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. All right. So let's talk about. Do we want to do Superman and Lois first or the Flash? Because Lance, you have to go, so you get to choose. Which one do you want to talk about the most out of those two? Because you don't have much time left before
Man
you.
and Lois, please.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that then. All right. So we're going to start out with Superman and Lois. This week's episode was 30 Days and 30 Nights. And this episode, Superman heads over to the inverse world and leaves our Earth without a Superman, which I thought was an interesting way to handle the storyline. I, at the beginning of the episode, when he went through the portal, I'm like, that's it. He's going to be gone for the rest of the episode.
Side note, I'm sick of the CW on their Twitter, with Superman and Lois specifically, spoiling these scenes at the beginning of the episode.
Did they do it again this week? I didn't see it.
Yes, they showed Superman going through the freaking portal as like new episode of Superman and Lois, and it's Superman going through the portal. I'm like, I didn't know that was happening. Now I do. I didn't get to watch it in the episode.
Right.
Stop doing it.
So Superman goes to stop Allie from crossing over, but arrives too late, then decides to travel there himself without hesitation. Do you think this was the right decision? Do you think Superman, in his quick thinking, doing this was the right choice? Do you think it's gonna end up being the correct way to handle this, or do you think he should have waited?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out next week.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm just asking your opinion. Do you think he will? Like, that's what I was asking. Like, I don't.
He might regret it, but at that moment, I don't think he realized that if I go, I think he went in like, okay, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna grab her, I'm gonna come back. But I also
that didn't happen.
I also think it's a thing of when he goes into the inverse world, it's a time is gonna work differently. So he'll feel like maybe I've only been gone for a day or two. But back on Earth Prime, he's been gone for over a month.
So my question is, this kind of leads into the preview for next week. I should probably wait and say this at the end after we get done with everything. Yeah, I'll say this to the end. I do have a question about the inverse world, but we'll talk about that after we go through everything. Either way, I thought it was very brave of him because he knows on that world he's going to be restricted in his powers. Yep. And he doesn't have a pendant. So it's going to be real interesting to see what actually happens there. So we have a time jump of a month where Lana is dealing with the election. It's the final night where the votes matter. This took a huge chunk of the episode. Are either of you invested in this story at all? Was this like something you wanted to take up as much time as it did? Or because I've been very vocally pretty much against the amount of time they've spent on this. But I'm glad that we finally got a resolution to that part of it, because I think that was the part that was bugging me. Now we can move forward with that because obviously she wins the election, and that sort of wraps up that particular part of the story. I don't think it's the end of it by any means. But what did you think of this part? I thought it was well done, but again, it was probably for me the weakest part of the episode.
I'm fine with it. Like, I think in like maybe some of the previous episodes, I think maybe more the drama between Lana and Kyle has been more of the issue. But it's hard to judge something until you see what the resolution is. Like, we might get a hint at what happens on the Bizarro world with Lana, which maybe plays into what happens in our Earth or something like that. There could be various things like that. Like, there has to be a reason that they thought that making Lana mayor was the right thing to do for a certain storyline, and I'm very curious to see what it is. I don't really have much of a prediction as to where it leads. I don't think anyone really could.
I
can't think of anything in the slightest at the very least where it could potentially lead. So just one of the things we have to sort of wait and see where it goes, I guess.
What do you think about this, Lance?
I'm glad we, like you said, we got the resolution. It felt more inclusive of everything this week.
Absolutely.
But, in like the first half of the season, I will say it did kind of take you out, like the episodes in some parts, because I'm like, okay, they're doing this to lead into the Kyle cheating scandal. It was weird. It felt like a step back from what they had the Cushings doing last season.
Right.
But I mean,
are they doing a good job of making us feel bad for Kyle now? I feel like they're doing a good job of making us see that he regrets what he did, right? I mean, I feel like he regrets what he did. He made a big mistake, but I think he regrets doing it. I I don't know if that necessarily means that Lana should just be like, okay, that's fine. But I do feel bad that he's in the situation he's in. And we get to see Sarah sort of kind of there to help her father, which I think is very good too. I think that's a good storyline as well. And it makes sense. And it actually goes to show how like a broken home can sort of put stress on the whole family, not just the people that are involved, especially with the kids, because we're getting to see it from all perspectives. I think in that regard, they're doing a good job. But her winning this election is going to make things even harder between her and Kyle. I think it's just going to be.
She doesn't seem to care anymore.
She doesn't. And also, we got to see some stuff with John and her. We'll talk about that in a second. We do have a super chat not related to Superman and Lois. And I just saw this right before we went live, so I don't really know what to think of it. But Naruto here with the $5 super chat. Given the recent Gotham Knights casting, you think Penny Farthing is no longer going to appear on Doom Patrol? Did you guys see the news about this?
No.
Let me see and pull up the article. So there was a casting. The one that I saw was the Rayhart Adams. Was the casting that I saw. I don't know if that connects to what this particular comment is about. But
I know who she's the. I only know this act. I don't remember her on Doom Patrol. I only remember her from a guest stint on All American. That's why I was confused. He's calling her by the character's name. I was confused.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. I will say this, though. I don't think that anything that deals with Gotham Knights will have any effect on Doom Patrol. I feel like those
episodes anyway. So
yeah. And I think that the shows are so disconnected that, and also we don't even know if they film at the same time. They could film at two completely different times of the year. So I'm not totally sure, but I would say anything with Doom Patrol and Gotham Knights, unless we hear the Doom Patrol is ending or something like that or whatever, which I don't think that I've heard anything about that. I would assume that it's not going to affect anything. I would wait on that one. But we'll see. Okay, so moving on with Superman and Lois. So we see that John Henry is getting a little too close with Lana, according to Natalie, who is, by the way, still very, very, very emotional. And we find out in this episode, part of the reason why she has heightened emotions is this is the anniversary of the death of her mother. And she can't tell anybody, really, outside of the Kents and her father, who her mother is. So she has no outlet to like release the stress for this. So it's kind of bubbling up. And she's mad at her father for talking to Lana because she thinks that that's somehow disrespectful to the memory of her mother. And so that becomes a huge argument. Let's see what are my notes here. So I think her reaction was a little bit elevated. I don't necessarily think the pressure she put on her father was fair, but I understand why she lashed out. Where do you think this is going with John Henry and Lana? Do you think he's going to move on and that's going to be the love interest? Or do you think it's just sort of a misdirect and that, it's just something for Lana and Kyle to have to deal with? This is a really weird combination of stories, I think.
I didn't see nothing. I get why Natalie kind of, blew up like that. But at the same time, the way I saw it is he just said hello.
Yeah.
He said hello. They were laughing. They were having a conversation. It wasn't really flirting to me.
Right.
I think she just saw her dad talking to another woman.
And immediately was like, he's hitting on her. Yeah.
If it was any other conversation with any other woman, she would have had the same exact, reaction. Mm-hmm. And because, her emotions were already all high and whatnot because of what's actually going on, it didn't really it was weird to me because I'm like, I get it.
It felt a little rushed, right? Like it was a little bit rushed.
I'm like, you're coming on strong. Mm-hmm. I don't blame him for wanting. It's not like he's trying to forget, but he's trying to move on.
Yeah,
he was already upset because of the waffles and all that other stuff. I get all of that, but at the same time,
yeah,
chill. You lost your mother, but he lost his wife.
right.
and has to live here.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, I
you.
think that she was putting unfair expectations on
Yeah.
him, but at the same time, I
Projecting.
can understand why she was upset
Yeah.
because it was the anniversary of the death. So it was kind of like a perfect storm of problems happening all at once. But it did feel a little bit rushed to me. Paige, any thoughts on this particular story point at all? Or
I think it was just Natalie was just perceiving things in the incorrect way just because of what day it was.
yeah.
Her dad had forgotten, and she's like, "Oh, well, that's because he's interested in other women. Sees him interacting with another woman.
Yeah.
1 + 1 is 2 in Natalie's head."
Right. So Naruto here clarifies she was cast as Stephanie Brown on Gotham Knights. Yeah, we had to do a little digging to find out who the person was. I completely brain farted about that one.
R.I.P. Batwoman, Stephanie Brown.
I would say this bodes worse for Batwoman than it does for Doom Patrol. If you're going to ask me the honest truth, I think this looks worse for that show than it does for a completely disconnected show, in my opinion.
Although this pilot could be complete trash and it goes nowhere.
I mean, maybe.
I think it could be the biggest piece of poo-poo and they'd still pick it up.
Yeah, that's also true. They picked up Charmed.
Oh,
that's right.
All right. There we go. I watched the first season of it, but yeah, that's pretty. Okay, so John is dealing with this stress, but also we get to see that the news is picking up that he is filling in the space while Superman is gone. Do you think this is going to lead to a comic accurate steal? Are we going to get him like becoming that character finally, where he accepts his role as a superhero? Because I think that would be cool. You know,
him and Jordan leveled up. Yeah,
I was waiting, and I honestly almost said it. I'm like, I'm not going to say it. But we get to see that for him. Do we want to see this though? Do we want to see him move into that role of Steel from the comics?
I was hoping that when they revealed him catching the plane, I'm like, okay, they're gonna do it. He's gonna have the crest and the cape with the hammer, but they didn't go that far yet. But I am hoping that with Natalie there, she will come. She's probably gonna come around to it by the end of the season. So I think we'll see it eventually.
Okay. Paige, are you anticipating a comic accurate Steel?
Define comic accurate Steel.
Cape, emblem, all that stuff.
I don't know if they'll go the cape just because of the nature of his suit and how it breaks apart and everything like that. Almost like the cape's like in his.
I was gonna say, what if the cape is nanotech or like some sort of like, material that can do that? That would be.
What if the cape is holographic, Eric? What if the cape is holographic?
What if he did cape tricks?
How about we don't go down that path? Because that brings back. I was about to say, I bet you Ben had a fit when Supergirl wasn't the one catching that plane.
Oh, well, that was another thing.
So many people on Twitter thinking that it was Supergirl that caught the plane.
Everybody. It was so. Everybody says, "Oh, where are all the other superheroes? Where is this other stuff?"
Yeah, but that point, I saw some people saying in the chat, like, that's been a conversation for almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Like when when Flash was when Arrow was like, "Oh, the Star City's about to explode. Hey, Barry, could you come here for 2 seconds?" No, I'm talking to Iris. So that's been a conversation for that many years. And even then, in the most recent season where Supergirl and the Flash are apparently neighboring cities divided by a lake or something like that, or a harbor. Yeah. They didn't help each other. And then the most recent Flash episode, I said in my review, isn't Central City meant to be on the coast? Because that's where National City, it's on the West Coast. And the Iris said, "Oh, I'm going to the West Coast. I'm going to Coast City." Right. Far away. I'm like, hold on. National City is on the West Coast, and Central City and National City are meant to be right next to each other. And I got roasted. I'm like, I'm just going off what the show did in Crisis.
I swear that Crisis and that whole setup just made things worse with Supergirl and where the shows are located.
Well, it's just my opinion. It's not even that much of an issue. Just have Central City be on the West Coast.
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter. You already did it that way.
Well, the thing is, you could have Coast City and Central City both on the coast, but separated from a long distance, like Los Angeles and San Diego.
Star City's meant to be on Star City's on the West Coast as well. Just make them all on the West Coast. Make it West Coast Warriors or something like that. I don't know. Yeah. West Coast.
I like that.
Justice League.
Yeah. All right, so the last bit I want to talk about in terms of non-main storylines is quickly the two boys storylines this week. We had Jonathan and Jordan with some pretty substantial stuff. Jonathan finally comes clean about everything
About time.
and like tells the family that it was Candace, which by the way, his mother's face was like when she saw
she
who
just
it
looked at
was.
him and went, simp. Like, seriously.
Of
like,
course it's Candace.
yeah.
And you know what? Like, I thought when he got their assurance that they weren't going to be angry, I knew when like in Lois's mind, she's like, she wanted to say something and she just kept biting her tongue. Like,
is anyone waiting for Jordan to make the Candace nuts joke? Like, because it seems like he'd be the kind of dude to say the joke. Like, I'm waiting for Jordan to drop the joke.
Maybe.
Superman and Lois writers, it's sitting there, it's low hanging fruit, but it's sitting there and waiting. Like, Jordan would 110% say it.
Yeah. So we get
Jonathan
that
would be triggered as well.
Yes. So we have that storyline with Jonathan, but then Jordan also has a substantial storyline because he's filling in because he thinks he has to, because his father's not around, and we get to see him use his powers in a big way. They are doing a very slow burn with Jordan's storyline. Do you appreciate that? Are we loving this, or is it taking too long to get to this? Like, what are we thinking here?
I think it had to go. I think it had to be this slow because I think they wanted it to sort of like, start to progress further as we dive into like this bizarro world thing more. I think if it happened too early, then you're probably just lingering on it with him not doing much with his powers afterwards. Yeah. So I think it had to, go this way. I think they wanted to line it up with certain other things going on. He's in is it Time Prison?
Yeah, I don't know.
Prison. It was in the Legend of Tomorrow finale. They explained it. I think Gary was there.
Yeah. Thank you for the super chat. So someone mentioned this, and this is Chris's comment. Love the Flash Time-esque scene. I loved the scene.
I did
when
too.
The beams were coming towards him and things just kind of stopped. I was like, wait, is he's moving at super speed, isn't he? And he was, and I was like, oh, like this looks good. Because I don't think we've ever seen it done that way with Superman or any of the other super characters. So Jordan was experiencing it in a way that we hadn't seen it. How cool was that? I just loved everything about Jordan's storyline. And Lance, you want to say something, so come on, say it. What do you want to say?
When that happened, I jumped up because he did the whole it is just looking around like, wait, did I just unlock something? what just happened?
He leveled up.
And then when he like ran and knocked the guy out and he just stood there and he had like I said that's how you do it. You make that Superman, you make that superhero pose. You look at your mom in the face, and then that's when he was supposed to say, "I told you so." But he didn't. I would have felt so great if he did. But I think she now knows he can handle himself.
Yeah,
like
she was worried, and arguably so. I mean, it's her son. I get it. But yeah, so I love that scene. I just love the whole storyline with him. But one thing I want to say is, I think Sarah had some unfair expectations from Jordan because look at what she was doing all this time that she's been dealing with her father. She's been helping her mother. She's been hanging out with this new friend of hers that she cheated on Jordan with. He's literally going away to help people and come back. He's only gone for like 30 minutes at a time sometimes.
Exactly.
And she's like so upset with him, but she's never with him. He's almost always available for her. I'm like, these are weird, unfair expectations on him.
Can I talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Please. I'm so glad that they broke up, that he does not need Sarah. First of all, their whole family has a double standard. Kyle, for you to sit there and tell her he does not deserve you after you cheated on your wife, covered it up, then tried to cover it up again. And then for Lana to say, if he can't accept you for what you did, but you're not trying to get back with your husband.
Exactly. It's like a weird hypocrisy from both sides.
Whole of that family of hypocrites, and you still only acknowledge your other daughter when it's needed. All right, I will never respect that family no more after this. No, because
people also say like it's bad. No, it's not bad writing. It is exposing how people are hypocritical. That is how people act. They're always
how people act in
exactly.
Real
so I don't see that as a problem in the story. It's just very telling of how people react to things that are not about them. But yeah, it's very, very, very wild there with that whole storyline. And I think the last bit of notes I have here is The stuff about the end of the episode. So the very end of the episode, after everything has gone down, we get to see Jonathan show up with his little poofy hair and the rocker outfit.
I think they call it a quaff.
A quaff.
It
And
was so tight when he had it buckled up.
yeah. And Lois is like, that's not our John. And at the same time this is happening, Jonathan from our Earth is having those same headaches that Clark was having when Bizarro was around. And so, yeah. Any thoughts on this? Any opinions on this?
Very, very red pants. They were very red.
It's just like he just walked out the barn. Like he said, "Yep, I'm just gonna walk up here and hope that
did he walk from the mines? Like, how did he
I don't know.
Wait, can he not fly? I just assumed he could fly.
I know, but I just I don't know. Why did he walk from such a far distance away?
Also, how did he get through the portal? Did he have to use a containment suit like his dad did, maybe, to get through? I guess we'll find out.
He flew around in a circle like Clark did. And
we'll find out. But yeah, I was kind of shocked to see him.
But then the red pants would be red underwear.
So let me just say this.
True.
I would not want to be Jonathan from our Earth or from the main Earth, because how bad are you going to feel when your twin brother has powers and then the other version of you shows up and probably has powers?
But to be honest, it's probably the better solution, because it seems that Jordan's doppelganger is R.I.P. the Dream.
That's the way it seems.
He has a perm.
So I want to get everybody's score in the chat. What did you think of this episode on a scale of 1 to 10? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Any thoughts and opinions on it? I see a lot of things flying in over there. But I will say that I enjoyed the episode, but I don't think it was my favorite of the season. We did see the preview for the next episode, which is like 3 weeks from now. And we are going to spend some time on the inverse Earth, which I think is going to be very
calling
exciting.
It inverse Earth. Bizarro World. Have some fun with it, Eric.
They've never actually called it Bizarro World. They've called it the Mirror World.
Well, the title is literally Bizarros in a Bizarro World. So we're kickstarting next week. Have some fun, Eric.
Yeah. Anybody, any thoughts on that before? Because I know you have to head out, Lance. So
I'm glad that no, it's 5:30 where I'm at, so I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I'm glad that we're actually getting to see what made Bizarro Clark start to look like that, because Paige, was it you that shared some screen cap? Somebody shared some photos from the trailer like that they were able to get, and you see like Clark, he looks like
he's got food poisoning.
Yeah, but you can tell that's when he's like
he's got the sweats.
He's sitting there like this.
It's like, I shouldn't have eaten that chicken. It looked weird.
But what if the reason why he wants to go after Allie, what if Allie is the reason why he looks like that now?
Oh, that's a good point. I didn't
maybe
think about
got corrupted by the pendant or something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe she was the cause of it. Lance, look at that. See, I didn't think about that. That's really good, actually. Also, something we saw in the trailer. Should I spoil this here? I mean, it's in the trailer. I guess it's not really.
It's in the trailer.
It's pretty obvious that we know who Tauro's wife is on the inverse, on the Bizarro World, as Paige would say. And that he's,
as everyone would say, you're the only one calling it inverse world, Eric.
I'm going to call it inverse and mirror world forever now. That's what I'm going to call it.
I called that though when he was talking about Lana. It was so obvious when he said, "Who's my wife?" and then the screen just immediately jumped to Lana. I'm like, I thought that was pretty obvious.
Yeah, I guess it was.
It was either Lana or potentially could have been Allie.
Yeah, but Ben just posted a video and said Superwoman coming. So
all right. All right, so let's move on. We're going to talk about Lance's favorite show.
Well, actually, that's a good thing. Yeah. What would Bizarro Eric be like? Because we've seen Earth 2 or Earth 3, Eric, we saw with the eye patch. An alternate
I think that was Earth 3. I think that was Earth 3.
So what would Bizarro Eric be like? He'd have no beard.
That would be scary enough right there.
He'd wear normal glasses. Not Chucky Finster.
No more Chucky Finster glasses.
Yeah.
He would have a queef or whatever it's called.
A queef?
I don't know what it is.
You'd have a what?
I hope you wouldn't have a queef.
Rewind that a bit. A queef?
A coif? A quaff?
Hold on, what the?
That's funny. Look at Lance.
That's
Lance
a clip.
can't take
That's,
it.
I don't know if anyone wants to clip that, then go
Clip
ahead.
it,
That's a
clip
clip,
it.
man.
Wait,
Let us
I don't think you can
demonetize.
treble my channel yet. It's not available there. So, but they should
Someone will
clip
find a
that one.
way.
Way to clip that. So yeah, definitely. Look, so like. Too funny. Look, wrong words. Anyway, so all right, let's move on. We're going to talk about this week's episode of The Flash, which I believe is Lance's favorite episode of the season, called Phantoms. Oh wait, we got a super chat. We'll do this before we get started. My prediction for 8:14 of Flash is when they kill off Ralph. We need to get into this because I have some thoughts about that based on this episode. Yeah, we'll get there. But thank you for the super chat, Naruto. You might be right, but we'll get there. So this is called Phantoms, and this week's episode had a lot of like things happen that I wasn't appreciating, but I still think it was okay. I don't think it was awful. The one thing I do appreciate is we finally pick up with where the Stinger left off 2 episodes ago with Iris and her time sickness. We still don't get many answers, but Dion is basically like telling her, which I think is funny, that he knew that there would be some weird stuff happening with her jumping through time because he told her that already. And they showed the flashback of that scene, and I'm like, I do distinctly remember that. He did have that conversation with her. And so the fact that it's happening, I guess, shouldn't be too big of a deal. But he uses powers and he sees mutations in Iris. Thoughts on this? What do we think? Because that's kind of the teaser at the end, too. He comes back and says he's got bad news, that there's something going on. What do we think? Because we already know that she's got residual energy in her, like dark matter. So what do we think is happening here?
A lot of people seem to have forgotten that whatever happened in Armageddon didn't happen in the regular timeline. It happened in the reverse Flashpoint timeline. So now that we see that she remembers that, I think him taking away, all the treatments or whatever has residual effects that cross timelines and time streams.
Wait a minute, you just made you made a good point there. I forgot about that. She shouldn't remember that.
Yep.
No.
The only person that should remember should be Barry.
What do you mean she shouldn't remember it?
That conversation about the time sickness happened before Barry reset things.
She shouldn't remember
being
in the train station. She shouldn't remember that. The only way they should know about that is because Barry told them what happened, but she shouldn't remember. Oh, I walked into a train station
because that was just her.
Dion would remember it because Dion's probably outside of time.
Dion didn't remember it though.
Oh, he didn't. You're right.
Yeah,
because he may be outside of time, but I think that Eobard did something far and beyond. So I think whatever happened when he took away the time sickness itself mutated because it's something that, goes beyond time and space as Team Flash and the audience knows it.
Yeah, or it's outside the bounds of the still force at the very least.
Okay. So what are we saying here? That either Iris should or shouldn't remember this? I'm trying to put.
Iris shouldn't, but the fact that she does is an issue. But for her, not for this writing.
Right.
The mystery. Why does she
that's
remember?
Part of what she's like her.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
Why it's acting up.
Yeah,
which it shouldn't, because she was technically still getting treatments. And she should still have those. That's why he was so, gung-ho about, I'm sure you're fine, yada, 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 because he never took them away in the proper timeline.
Right. So from his perspective, everything had been going on as normal, which is why he remembered telling her that, except for the fact that she remembered when he told her that if he stopped the treatments, that this would happen.
Yep.
Okay, got it. That makes sense. So clearly the mutation is affecting her perception of time.
Like her stability, I think, is probably maybe the best word to use.
Yeah. Naruto with the $2 super chat. Shouldn't Dion remember all timelines?
No.
Should he or no?
No, because remember in the train, funny enough, the train station scene from Armageddon, Iris goes that something's up, and Dion's like, no, there isn't. And then he does that thing, and they see that all that stuff's floating around. Remember that stuff was floating up from the ground?
Yeah.
And he was like, what the hell? Like, I wasn't able to read this. And then we find out there's someone messing with the still force and just the timeline in general that he wasn't able to read. We know that was Reverse Flash. So we know Dion, even though he has a lot of control and understanding of what's going on, not everything. Now, that's whether it exists outside of the still force is another question, because that's for us to wait and find out.
Yeah.
But we know that at least already this season, early on in Armageddon, negative still force particles. That's what they were. He couldn't sense them until they released Iris's like thing, and they were able to show them. So we already know that Dion's got not a perfect control on everything or a perfect read on everything. So it's not too much of a surprise that he didn't notice it on Iris straight away.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I still, for me personally, right now, this is the most interesting story we're dealing with. I just find it very, very, very interesting.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I love
Chester and Allegra.
That's in the notes. Don't worry, we're getting there.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Chuck and Allegra.
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to talk, before we get into that, I want to talk about the other part of the Iris story, which is where they go to Coast City. So we have Sue show up, and Iris is at work, and she's obviously stressed out because of the time sickness stuff. So she's like, I'll go with you on this road trip, because there's a character called the Coast City Phantom, I think is what they were calling her. That's a meta. And then was it Allegra that was like, how can it be a meta when they weren't here in Star City or Central City? Did she say that? Did she say that?
But there's been examples in the past with.
Well, that's what I mean. That was a weird thing, because all the Black Lightning metas don't have anything to do with
Rainbow Raider. Yeah, as well from season 1.
So that was a weird comment that she made, and I'm like, that's kind of.
But strange. It also was Allegra. So I'm like, what do you know, Allegra? Like, you've been here for one season or something like that. Like, you know nothing.
Yeah, I will say though that I love Sue. I like having Sue back on the show. I think she actually fits in really well with the cast, more so than Allegra does, and that's odd because she only comes in once in a while. But
are you campaigning for something, Eric?
I'm not. I'm just saying. But I do want to point this out, and I want to know both of your perspectives on this. I don't care if Ralph does or does not come back to the show, but I do wish that they would just give some finality to his storyline, so that when Sue shows up, you're not wondering like what's going on with Ralph. He's still friends with everybody on the show. The character didn't get in trouble. The actor did. So why is it that he is just not even mentioned or addressed? I wish they would just say they broke up, or, he's going to be out of the country for the next couple of years. Something that will make it so when she's around, we're not wondering why Ralph is just mysteriously not talked about and not on screen. Do we think they should? I feel like they should do something like that.
They probably should, but I think the thing is that I don't know. Maybe they think that like keeping Ralph like a still functioning thing within this world where he's referenced keeps Sue relevant or something like that. Maybe that's in their head, because like I think I don't know what they had planned like after the whole Hartley Sawyer Ralph situation. But I think like with Sue showing up, I think it's just Eric Wallace saying, well, hold on, you're meant to be, a recurring character for a good amount of episodes throughout, how many seasons we want to do, or, whenever we want to use you. And that gets, that got ripped away as soon as the whole Ralph thing happened.
Right.
So they had to try and figure out. Now, I think in her previous episodes, they probably didn't utilize her that well. I think this is the first episode where they actually utilized her really well.
I agree.
And the other ones just felt like they were just putting her there going, what can we make Sue do? Okay, she's a super spy cat burglar or something like that randomly.
Yeah.
So this was the first one I think they actually used her well as her own entity.
I do want to point out that also what they have her doing now with the company and trying to rebuild the family name and everything, all of that feels better to me than the whole cat burglar, like, you know, Black Cat storyline. So, what about you, Lance? Are you kind of confused about the Ralph thing, or do you not care at all?
It didn't really bother me that much. I know when we were watching, my wife brought up like I mean, it is kind of weird that she just didn't say anything
Mhm.
about Ralph at all. But I mean, I just chalked it up to he wasn't brought up in conversation.
I just feel like every time she shows up, people that are fans of that character are probably like, what is going on with him? We need some like backstory on him. Because I do agree, Sue is her own character and I'm fine with that. But I just think it's weird. Like it would be like Iris showing up all the time and Barry never mentioned. It doesn't seem natural. Like if Sue shows up and they're talking and they wouldn't say, well, how's Ralph doing? How are things going with him? How is he handling your new job or what? Like, it's just weird that it's almost like he's not even there. And I see Anthony saying recast Ralph. Do you think at this point they may try to recast him and use him? Because by not saying he's gone, they're leaving the door open for him to come back again.
I mean, they might, but I mean, let's just be completely honest. The show is already getting enough backlash for not having any West Allen in the same room kissing scenes.
Right.
We don't need the other backlash for them recasting Ralph and everybody's trying to burn down the CW and we see videos of people burning up Eric Wallace dolls and stuff.
Yeah. What about you,
Eric Wallace dolls?
They would make them.
Can I have the link to buy one? I'd love one. I'll sleep with Eric Wallace at night, tucked in.
All right, so Phantom Girl, do we want to see this character again? We got very little with her and she was kind of just a plot device for Iris's storyline.
Well, she's in next episode apparently. So
no, I'm not saying will we. I'm saying was she interesting enough? Or do we care about this character? Do we think she's going to get better? I don't really. There was nothing in her story that made me go, yeah, I want to know what happens with this character. I just didn't care.
No, I don't think so. I think she's just there for the sake of being there. Like, they just needed something that attract them to Coast City, and also like a storyline with that specific character that warrants them staying there for another episode or two, however long it is.
It could have been any
nothing amazing there. I mean, we saw her use her powers twice. I mean, and they're pretty basic powers. I mean, Barry does it. Barry can do that as well.
Right. Like, well, not only that, Martian Manhunter can do it. There's a bunch of characters that can do that. So it's a very like
Barry can do that.
Yeah. So, well, actually, every speedster can do it. Honestly, all of them.
Can Speedster Iris do it? Okay, I think she did. I think she didn't.
Yeah, she did actually, didn't she? Yeah.
Well, you remember it's your favorite episode.
No, it is not.
Speedsters. Yeah. This is backtracking, but did we ever acknowledge how Jesse's suit was in the Flash Museum in the future? On Earth Prime?
Was it?
Yeah.
In episode 6.
Yeah, it was right next to Mecha Vibes, which is also a huge slap in the face too. They could have just put regular Vibe. Everybody knows.
Yeah, why Mecha Vibe?
Yeah, Mecha Vibe. He was Mecha Vibe for like what, 6 episodes or something?
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Not even that, like maybe less.
Why was her suit in there?
Yeah, that's weird. They wanted to fill in space, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. They probably just going, okay, they probably just went through the old costume storage and like, okay, what's in the archives? Okay, just chuck that up there or something like that.
Yeah. Staggervore here with a 1.9 super chat goes, I would accept a recast of Ralph at this point. I don't know if it matters anymore.
I don't think a lot of people would.
Yeah.
I know, to be honest, I wouldn't want someone to get cast and then they just get hate for it. I think you're just setting someone up to get hate. I think
which is why maybe they should just say that Ralph is gone or something. I don't know.
They just say like Ralph's busy doing his own thing. Ralph's got his own team Flash. Team Ralph.
Team elongated.
Team Ralph on the East Coast.
That sounds gross.
Far away from Central City.
Speaking of Phantom Girl, I said this in my review. There's nothing in her story that leads me to believe she has any connection to the Legion of Superheroes, right? There's just nothing.
Nothing at all.
There.
No, that was just the DC TV show clickbait video.
Yeah, I got the impression that she's going to be a new version of what Phantom Girl is in the comics. So not that interested in her. We'll see what happens with her down the road. I felt like she was just a plot device. All right, so we have Barry and Team Flash investigating this Black Flame meta, and Chester, who actually has a pretty large amount of time in this episode dedicated to his storyline.
Well, I would say it's a Chester-centric episode.
You're true. I would say you're probably right. Chester has a large amount of time dedicated to him, and the episode sort of focuses around his character and what happened with his father. And he designs this thing for the satellites that allows them to detect this radiation, but it only works as it's happening, meaning that they can't track the serial killer meta until they're actually doing something. And Barry's like, that's okay, I can get there in time. But he doesn't make it in time. And they get to another body that has been destroyed by this meta, and there's a little bit of flame there left over. I'm a little bit confused on, is this thing they're fighting a person, or is it like some sort of extra dimensional creature? Or not saying that this is I'm not complaining about it. I'm saying that I don't understand what it is yet, and that's not a bad thing. But the little flame left behind, was that left on the other bodies too, or was this the only one that had that left over on top of it?
The only one.
Only one, but I think it was intentional. So Chester, I think once Chester was there, because it wasn't there initially when Barry first found the body, but when Chester arrived and Barry and Chester were looking over the body, the flames all of a sudden there. And we know that it lingered onto Chester, so I think it could feel Chester's grief. And that's
so you're thinking this is a setup for Chester because of what it planned to do to Chester.
Yeah. So it was 10 steps ahead, whichever way you want to put it.
I do have a theory about what it is.
Okay,
it's out
go ahead.
there.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, we all know that Eddie Thawne is coming back, and everybody wants him to be Cobalt Blue. What if the flame is the little, the sword? It's going to turn into the sword that Cobalt Blue uses, and when the black flame sees Iris, it's going to show up as Eddie, and he's just going to manifest the sword out of the flame. Boom! You got Cobalt Blue. I just ended all of Flash season 8. Right?
Wow. There. Okay, there we go. That's everything there.
I think Paige wants it.
So,
well, do you want? There is the possibility that they're putting a bit of a twist on everything. And the only thing I wonder is if they have enough time to explain it and whether it will work out between where we last saw Eddie and where we're going to see him now. Because Cobalt Blue in the comics is powered by just, and this is where it comes in, not the black flame, but the blue flame.
Right.
So I wonder if that's where they're going. And
is it going to be Cobalt Black?
And also, there's obviously that Supergirl villain, which I'm sure Ben did a clickbait video on, called the Black Flame. And I wonder if that's the mislead as well. Because if you type in the Black Flame, that's all that comes up. No connection to Eddie. Or no connection to
that's what I said like a couple weeks ago. I was like, the Black Flame is literally a Supergirl villain.
Yeah.
So,
and it's like a throwaway one as well from like 40 years ago or something like that.
Yeah.
That no one would remember, even if they were the biggest Supergirl fan of all time.
It's like they just had the name, the IP was available for them, like they did with Savitar, and then they changed the whole story.
Or even Prometheus.
Else. Yeah, same thing. Yeah,
completely different character, but same name. So maybe that's what they're doing. So it is, instead of the blue flame with Cobalt Blue, it's the black flame, but it sort of leads into this somewhat similar thing. I'm very curious to see what they do, because I have a feeling Eddie did his Rick Cosnet did his episodes, and that news came out I think when they were filming like episode, I want to say 14 or 15 or something like that. So we know roughly that it seems like episode 14 is the last episode of this graphic novel, which is that episode is entitled Funeral for a Friend. The previous 2 episodes before that are called Death Rises and Death Falls, and Ronnie's only meant to be up to episode 12. It seems like he's in episode 11 and episode 12. So there's 2 more episodes after that. And we know that Rick Cosnet is back as Eddie Thawne in multiple episodes as well. And it seems that he already did them before that news was announced, or he was wrapping it up.
Okay.
Did we just spoil the Flash season 8?
I think we might have. I think altogether we've just, like, especially you two have come up with a huge spoiler. Robert Blake says it's an emotional element. Dun, dun, dun. Maybe.
Can you do that again?
Dun dun dun.
Oh, it was better the first time.
Okay, well, there we go. Multi-topic talk here with the $5 super chat, Team Eric member. Am I the only one thinking about Justice Hugh after seeing Phantom Girl? I hope they just kill off Screen Ralph since they don't recast or mention him. So Justice Hugh, we haven't talked about that in a while. I don't know if Phantom Girl is a character.
Oh my God, I just realized. Imagine Twitter. CW upfronts, Mark Petterwood storms the stage, or doesn't storm because I guess he'd be presenting it anyway, but struts on stage. Double middle finger to Batwoman and Legends, and Justice You just appears on the screen. Diggle comes out, Green Lantern suit. Actually, maybe keep it contained. Green Lantern ring, and just goes, "Are you ready for justice?"
Oh God, that is cringy.
And then he goes, "If so, we're heading to school," and that's what happens then. Mark Petterwood just goes, "L Batwoman, L Legends," and then Gotham Knights shows a really bad trailer, and then that's get ready for next season.
I could just hear the music from the Gotham Knights trailer.
Oh no!
I could just hear
Actually, what song would you want in the Gotham Knights trailer? A pop song.
Thank You Next by Ariana
Grande. Is that a subtweet towards Legends and Batwoman?
Thank You Next. That's what that would be my song for that show. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea, but that would be if he did that, which I know he's not going to, but if he did that, that would be hilarious. That'd be super funny. All right, let's move on and talk about the love story between Chester and Allegra, because that took up a big chunk of time as well. These two characters just don't work together. They just don't. Chester's storyline is being hampered by the really bad Allegra storyline that keeps getting pulled in, because I like Chester. I think Chester's a great character. I think that what is his name? Brandon? Isn't Brandon the actor that plays
Brandon?
Chester?
I think that's how you pronounce it.
Does a great job with this. And I feel like Allegra, especially in that scene where she was trying to give him a pep talk, felt so dialed in to me. I did not believe anything she was doing in that scene. It's the worst forced relationship.
You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, remember in season 5 of Arrow when there was that reporter and they just made her and Oliver all of a sudden hook up for no reason?
Oh, I do remember that.
And there was like no chemistry there either. It's like, will this really happen? Especially at this stage of Oliver's like life. And it just didn't work. This is how it feels. I think Allegra and Chester is worse than that.
You know what's worse than Allegra and Chester? Cecile being the third in their little weird friend thread.
Oh yeah. Okay.
When she just showed up when Allegra was her, and she just crept into the.
I know. I'm curious though. Is a general consensus? I'm not saying everybody agrees with us, but the vast majority of people that I've spoken with about this particular storyline think that it's the worst relationship we've had in a long time on any of the Arrowverse shows.
It doesn't make sense.
I think since that season 5 of Arrow one, which was what, 5 years ago or something.
Yeah,
like people would say Kara and William, but Kara and William really weren't a thing.
No, it never really happened. It was more like
and it's clear that they want this to happen on the Flash.
Yeah. They want the fans to be on board with it, and they keep trying so hard. So the thing is, I think my problem is, I know people have mentioned like D&D and the fact that they bring that up. There's nothing between these two characters that makes me believe they would fall for each other. There's nothing there. They work together very rarely at that, because Allegra is now at CCC Media and Chester's pretty much always at Star Labs, which, by the way, when Iris left to go to Coast City, Allegra would have been the person left in charge. And right after Iris left, she was right back at Star Labs. She wasn't at CCC Media.
They definitely told her to stay and hold down the fort at CC Media, and she immediately said, "I'm."
Well, doesn't like everyone hate her there? Doesn't like everyone hate her?
No, but the weird thing was it went from but the weird thing that got me was it went from that scene at CCC Media to the next scene with her being at Star Labs with Chester and everybody else, and I'm like, what? Weren't you supposed to be there? Like, what happened? So anyway,
be at work.
Allegra is a character. I don't think I've ever had a character on the show that I just feel is so out of place. Allegra is out of place on the Flash. She doesn't work. And I know Eric Wallace wants her to be there. We've talked about this because it's a character that he, took part in creating. And so that's kind of his thing. I get it. She doesn't work on the show though. And I don't know if the problem is necessarily the acting or the character or the story? Or maybe it's all three of those things.
It is. If we want to be completely honest, it is.
So can we talk about Cecile for a moment? Because I do want to bring this up.
Can we not?
Oh, somebody's at my door. I'm not going to go get it though. So Cecile, up until last week, her powers they would just happen, right? She would get emotional spikes from people or whatever. And then last week, she thought that it was like a breach of trust to read somebody's emotions, I guess, without consent or without them knowing, especially on her job. And she was like, I don't want to do that. And then this week, it goes right back to the way Cecile was before, where somebody's emotions are so heightened, she can't block them out, which is what happened with Chester. You mean to tell me that when Jaco, whatever you want to call him, when he was upset about his kid, that didn't spike her abilities? So I truly believe that Cecile has once again proved why she is a plot device character. And the best Cecile we ever got was when they had to give her Joe's storylines when Jesse was gone from the show, and she had to fill in those
dialogue
gaps
and everything.
Yeah. Because then her character was more than just a show up. And you know what they love to do with her? And I wish I had a picture of it right now, is when they're in Star Labs, right? And they have those overhead like lighting that's like the can lighting in the ceiling. And she's just over in like a shadow. And she moves over to that white light and she's like, ah! And I'm like,
yeah, that was some dodgy acting, wasn't it?
I was like, why do they make her do this? Like, honestly, they must tell her. They must tell her, we need you to act like you're having the worst panic attack ever. That's the way it is every time she feels emotion, every single time.
I don't know how they can keep a straight face on set when she does that. I would be on the ground laughing.
What? What is this from?
It's just filming for the most recent episode.
Oh,
Chester is out on the field, Allegra's out in the field, and Cecile's out in the field.
What?
oh.
This
They're
is
at Fast Track
worst.
Labs. I don't know if you can see that.
And they're
right
all
there.
wearing like these like cool, edgy outfits.
This is the worst iteration of Team Flash ever. Like, I honestly,
But the thing is
I
that
hate it.
does that mean Chester randomly gets his powers back?
Well, somebody had a comment about that, about why they don't talk about Chester's powers, but I think it's because they kind of stopped them from happening, right? Didn't they?
Well, his powers are sort of like
He had Barry inside. That's gonna sound weird.
sus.
Barry. Okay, didn't Barry jump into his?
You're not going to be able to save face with this one. Drop it.
Yeah, I think you might as well just go ahead and say it, because it's not going to
make everything sound worse.
Okay. Didn't Barry jump into his black hole? And like,
that makes it even worse. It's 10 times worse now. I actually don't know how you made that 10 times worse.
Because wasn't the black hole is him, right?
Yes.
I
Well,
mean,
it's like split in half. I think it's like he can't.
This is sounding
exist
worse and worse as we go on. Can we split in half?
But either way,
it's not going to end up well.
Barry jumped in and stopped it with whatever he did. So I just figured his powers were gone, and then they had him in
that containment unit too for a while.
But I mean, I thought he looked kind of cool with the eyes. He could just walk around with like Cisco's Vibe glasses on, and just he could have been a new iteration of Vibe.
He could have been. Yes, you're true. That's true. Yeah, that's quite interesting.
It's cool they got Fast Track Labs though. That's cool.
Yeah.
But this is how Avery gets her powers.
Oh, that's you could be right about that. So she says Chester was in a chamber for like 6 months that cured. Yeah, I thought that they did something when he was in that chamber. I just don't know exactly what it was. So anyway, I think Cecile is also just awful. All right.
Straight up.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
He wants to be in a relationship with all of Team Flash so bad.
So another thing that got me was the scene where Chester was okay. So we'll get to this. So Chester believes, because of his grief about his father, that the Black Flame is his father coming back to have revenge on him, which if you look at the stuff that happened, it doesn't make any sense, but that's the way his mind is like, oh, it must be my father, even though that doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so there's a scene where Chester sees his father because the Black Flame like manifests and whatnot, and you have Allegra and Cecile standing next to him, screaming at him, "Don't do it!" Blah blah blah. And I'm like, just a bad scene. It was just a bad scene, and Cecile was in the middle of their stuff. Like, I can feel his grief. I can feel like I'm like.
And then when Allegra hugs Chester, Cecile just edges in.
Yeah.
Just gets in it, and they're all sweaty and stuff.
Yeah. I don't know about that one.
It was so bad.
The other thing is, and I know this might be an Eric versus Pagey 2.0, depending on where this goes. I understand that they targeted Chester. That's fine. I have no issue with that. But if the creature feeds on grief, wasn't Barry the perfect target in last week's episode?
He can outrun fire.
I mean, but he's the perfect target because he was sad. That was the driving force of everything he was doing.
But we also don't know. I think it depends if it is it actually Eddie? Because there might be a specific reason why he wouldn't target Barry specifically.
Yeah, but he's targeting Team Flash, which is technically around Barry.
But yeah, that's exactly what Eddie would do, though. Especially if they go with the Cobalt Blue.
But then why was he targeting the people at the bar?
Because Joe came. People.
Yeah, that's possible.
I mean, if you think about it, it didn't really start messing with Chester until when Chester first got there and saw that body and saw the flame. Although it's an inconsistency from last week because Chester also saw that body and didn't really freak out. But I guess seeing it again and seeing how it was, the flame showed back up when Chester showed up. Maybe it's a thing of, oh, I can definitely prey on this guy because he's afraid.
Maybe, but my question is, wasn't Barry expressing grief the whole time he was around where those things were? Like, I feel like he was sad. That was the entire driving force of his storyline, right? Was grief. Whereas Chester's grief was manufactured. It wasn't like it was an anniversary date of his father's death or his father's birthday or anything like that. It happened because, Chester thinks that it's his father because of the coincidence of what it is versus what is actually happening. Whereas Barry had genuine grief. And they were saying that Barry was making sketchy decisions, which leads me to believe that Barry was acting in a way that felt weaker than how Barry actually is normally, because Joe had to step in and talk to Barry and sort of reinvigorate him. And even Barry was doubting himself a little bit. And so I just feel like if grief is its target, and Paige, maybe you're right, maybe there is more, which is why I'm not going to say it's 100% a problem.
Well, you'd be chucking his standard Eric if you talk too early.
But what I'm saying is, though, Joe goes that, talks about how the person at the bar had lost someone and then the other person had lost someone. But what are the coincidences that a character that looks like they're burning things burns up two people while a meta who has fire powers is also being questioned for burning up a person? And then the next person gets burned up and then they get flagged for that. But then they're also going after Chester. It seems to me like the writing is trying to pull this in and it's not really working at the moment. I hope that the resolution makes this feel good, because right now it feels a little sketch to me.
This is my thought as to how they've planned the story, is that they've done this to involve Barry because it's straight away into the CSI stuff. He's of course going to investigate this stuff and be, this is a bit sus. What's going on here? Then all of a sudden we get someone involved with Team Flash, and then this being, I don't know what you would call it, thing, being, Black Flame, whatever you call it, is obviously feeding off the grief. So it's going to get more powerful the more people it kills and feeds off and everything.
So do you think it's going to continue to target people around Barry?
I think you're saying I think Barry would defeat it straight away.
No. I mean, do you think that if your theory is correct, do you anticipate that it's going to keep targeting people around Barry? Is that what you're saying? Like,
not specifically around Barry, but it has a through line to Barry, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So Barry would know about each one.
See, I assumed that it was targeting Chester because Chester came up with a way to track it. That's what I thought. It knew that Chester could track it.
Well, I think it was
like, I'm going to go after Chester.
Because it didn't just start this episode where Chester was dodgy about it. It started last episode.
Yeah, I agree.
It reminded him, this is what it reminded me of his dad's death.
No, I agree with
triggered
that.
the grief.
I'm
and
saying in
everything
this
leading into
episode,
one.
though, I got the impression that it was going after Chester because Chester found a way to track it. That was my impression.
Maybe it could have been a bit of both. It's like, hey, you got some grief there, and also you're sort of ruining my plan, or something
that's
like
true.
that. I guess probably maybe a bit of both.
Okay, so wrap this up with our flash
But
review.
you know, that's the thing. We won't know. Like anyone saying that you don't know if the writing's doing it well or not until you get the conclusion.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
You could have the best lead up to something and the payoff is terrible, or you could have the weirdest leading up and the payoff is amazing. You don't know until the end.
Go ahead, Lance.
I would hate to. I've been trying to figure out all week, how is Barry going to fight sentient fire? Right. If it doesn't go the route that we think, and it's going to manifest itself as Eddie Thawne as Cobalt Blue, I think we're going to have a power of love.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew you were going to say that.
And it's going to end with Team Flash standing in the street, holding hands, and yeah.
And I hope not, because Paige and I were looking at IMDb the other day at like the worst rated episodes of The Flash. And one of them is Mother, which was the season 3 episode that was supposed to be the third episode of season 7 that was supposed to be the finale for season 6, where they basically let the Mirror Mistress go. And it's the power of like compassion or whatever that convinces her to not fight. I think going that route would be the worst way to end the storyline. It would be the absolute worst. There needs to be a scientific way of defeating this. The emotional thing, I don't think is going to work. Although it is a creature that feeds on grief. So that leads me to believe that if the power of love can defeat the power of grief, like maybe that's what's going to happen. I really hope not. Okay.
Oh, maybe it's a dance off.
Maybe a dance off. Maybe a lightsaber battle.
Bring back Vibe, and he's like the original Vibe where he does all the break dance moves like he does in the comics.
Right. Or we could have like the dark saber from Mandalorian versus the lightning saber from the Flash.
That's what the black flame looks like. It looks like the dark saber.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. So in the chat, give us your score of this episode, 1 to 10. Last thing before we answer these super chats is I want to say, please, Flash, stop using leveled up in every single episode. It makes me cringe. I literally cringe into my couch whenever I'm watching this.
I love it because I know Eric is punching walls when it's said. I sit there and laugh. I'm like,
I don't know. I can't take it anymore.
Repair.
Matter of fact, my latest review, I just said stop saying leveled up because I just couldn't even. It irked me so much. I just made it the entire title.
Were you triggered, as I would say on the streets?
I was very triggered. And actually, this episode for me was, I think, in terms of like what it did was about the level of a filler episode. I don't think there was anything amazing in it, and I don't think it was awful. Well, the awful stuff was the Allegra and Chester stuff. That was literally the worst part of the episode. Everything else was okay, but I think it could have been so much better. And please just get rid of the Allegra and Chester love story. I just cannot with that. All right, we have a couple super chats before we wrap things up here. We have one. It's a $10 super chat from Crazy Cat Lady, also a Team Eric member. When come the Ezra versus Grant, we see more of Grant as the Flash, and Ezra has gotten own scene yet. We always see a movie with a group not being his own hero. Okay, so we already talked about the Ezra and Grant stuff earlier, the Ezra story earlier. I like Grant better, but there's also a lot of bias in that because he's been the Flash longer, and I just associate him with this character, whereas Ezra, as you say, has only been the Flash in a couple of things. And I've not been a big fan of Ezra as Barry Allen. I think Ezra is more of a Wally West Flash, in my opinion.
More of a Bart.
But more of a Bart. Yeah, I could see that. So I agree with you. I don't think we've seen a lot of Ezra's Flash. And so we need to see more of that to make a final. Like, honestly, this movie coming out, if it comes out in 2025, whenever it finally comes out, we can determine. But before we move on from this, though, I do want to ask, and I think I know Paige's answer for this. How do you feel about Ezra as the Flash in general? What are your thoughts on that? Are you okay with it? Is Ezra's version not good for you? Like, what do you think about that? Both of you can answer, but yeah, whichever wants to go first. Paige, Lance.
Oh, well, I thought Paige was going to go, but when he was first introduced in Justice League, like when we first got to see him, I automatically knew, okay, this is Warner Brothers' answer to Tom Holland's Peter Parker.
That's exactly what I thought.
The youthful aspect, the crazy questions, but automatically
the jokes.
Yeah. I'm like, this isn't my Barry Allen, but at the same token, neither is Grant. But Grant made you fall in love with his version of Barry, whereas Ezra, we haven't had that time. He's still super goofy and you know whatnot. I'm like, we have to build up to that, and all he's had was basically glorified cameos and a lot of stuff. Like, I love seeing him in the Flash TV show, you know, hanging out with Grant. I think that's what the character needed. But would I be upset to see him get, you know, the boot? Not really.
What about you, Paigey?
What was the question again? Just so I know how to answer.
What are your thoughts on Ezra as the Flash in general? Because we haven't had a chance to really see Ezra in a lot of stuff with Flash.
I think he's like just really mid at the moment from what I've seen. Like it's the Snyder Cut and like his performance in Snyder Cut and just in the theatrical are the same to me. Like he still acts the exact same. Just that obviously like different dialogue. Like I've said, I don't like that Speed Force scene in that movie.
I didn't either, but a lot of people seem to love it.
It makes no sense, and why you would put it in that movie. It sort of takes away completely from his solo movie, putting it in that movie. By the way, Oscar's fan favorite will not be there next year, at least based off this year's results.
I know.
That was so cringy. I can't believe it. Anyway, but I think Lance said it, like that Crisis cameo, I think, brought a lot of people at least back on board of giving him a chance. But was that chance built off just wanting to see those two interact again at a later point? Or was it based off giving Ezra as a solo Flash in his own thing? Like, is it people giving that a chance? And like, it's hard because we got footage from the movie, but it's not even like you don't get anything about his performance in there. It's a lot of voiceover and stuff like that. So it's hard to really tell how Ezra is even in that movie as well. So the only like, I think the Flash, his performance in the Flash movie has to be like, I think like a really solid one that buys people on. Like I know the Tom Holland, you know, comparison is there, but like I think a lot of people bought on to Tom Holland in Homecoming pretty quickly.
I
let
feel
alone in Civil War.
Yeah.
So
I think Civil War is a little iffy, but definitely in Homecoming, people were like, okay, I'm on board.
So Ezra has to be the case. And I think the only worry for people in regards to that is that it's, you not only have him there, but you have, you know, Barry there, you have like Supergirl, then you have two Batman, then you have like an alternate Barry as well, and God knows who else. So that's the only concern, just like how long is the movie? Can it fit all that in? Does it give enough time to flesh this Barry out and let Ezra, you know, build upon it? Because as I said, even with a 4-hour movie where he's in, it didn't even feel like there's much improvement there either.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I'm willing to give it a shot to see how Ezra does in the film before I make my final decision. But what I've seen so far, I've not been happy with. So I'm hoping that the film changes that for me. All right, we have another super chat here from Emmanuel Robertson, $5 super chat. Question: how was Superman and Lois and Stargirl, both lighthearted shows like Flash and Supergirl, but feel so dramatically different in tone and writing? Ooh, we could spend like an hour talking about this. I think so. Stargirl came out before Superman and Lois, and we could already tell that Stargirl was a much better show than a lot of the shows we get on network television back when it first started out on the DC app. And I think it's because Stargirl stayed very true to who the character was from the comics, and it's expanded on that world in a way that makes sense. And I think that's the difference there. Superman and Lois is more of a modern take on what Superman and Lois, who they would be with a family and with kids and moving back to a small town. But I think both of them make sense. I think the tone of the shows makes sense. By the way, this week's episode of The Flash, and The Flash in general right now, is giving me a season 3 tone for the most part. It's very like spooky and almost horror-like, which is, I don't hate it. But with these shows, the tone has been pretty consistent from like whatever they start out at the beginning of the season, they go all the way through. Like Stargirl season 2 was different than season 1, but still felt consistent. And Superman and Lois has had the same tone since their first season, all the way through this season. Any thoughts on this, you guys? Any opinions on this?
I think it's just at least now with the Flash, like it's always with these graphic novels, it's jumping, so everything sort of can feel different, whether it's the scale, whether it is the tone, whether it's the theme, whether it's the genre, whatever it is they're sort of focusing in on. So it's always going to feel a bit inconsistent due to that. But I do agree with how like you have Superman and Lois and Stargirl, and they are both lighthearted. But I think it's just mainly like how they're made as well, because just like how something looks on screen can give you a different feel as well.
Right.
And I think that's the difference there. Like I think Flash like has that really like poppy feel to it. Like it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of different like tones and colors and everything going on. Or like the lighting's usually all the same, unless it's like it's going to go like a different shift, like a couple different shifts in lighting, which can create tone and change tone. While Superman and Lois, like there's obviously more detail put into that. Obviously, we're feeling the repercussions of that now because we're constantly going on breaks. And Stargirl takes a good while amount to film and then finish up and like, you know, and then eventually air. Like so, Flash and Supergirl. Like I don't want to use the term like fast food, but that's probably the best way to put it because it's the turnaround isn't that massive.
I was going to say, I think those shows have a very quick filming cycle compared to like
at least from like
and, or Stargirl, you know, Superman and Lois.
Wrap of episode to airing of episode, they can get Flash as well as Supergirl and Legends and Batwoman and stuff done faster than a Superman and Lois episode. I'm not too sure about Stargirl because Stargirl's harder because it's always it airs at a different time of the year, so they have that a lot of time. But at least in regards to Superman and Lois, we know that they just take much longer to finish up.
Right.
Now, people could argue, is it worth it? I think it depends. I think in some cases, yes. But like, you know, if they spend like all this time trying to get this one shot of the person's foot or something like that, and no one notices it when they watch the episode, then you can argue that's a waste of time. But I don't think that really matters in the long game of everything.
Yeah. Yeah, Cody mentions the anamorphic lenses. Yeah, I agree. I think it does add a sense of cinema. You know, it makes it feel more cinematic.
I think it's also because they went with that for the first 2 episodes specifically. Like it sort of dropped off a bit. Like they don't do it as much. But the anamorphic lenses is still a thing there. And I think once you do it in your pilot, you sort of have to try and live up to it in some degree in the rest of the show, at least in the first season or 2. So that's probably like a bit of a burden.
Yeah. Well, what about you, Lance? Any thoughts on the tones of Stargirl, Superman and Lois versus like the Flash?
Well, the way I've always thought about it is you got to think about Superman and Lois's showrunner is the former showrunner from Flash. I think did Supergirl have the same showrunner all the way throughout its run?
No, because Andrew Kreisberg was part of that
for
a while.
I think that is one of the biggest differences that we are seeing. Every showrunner has their own vision for how they want the show to go. Todd Helbing couldn't really, if we're being completely honest, he couldn't really handle the Flash at first, like not by himself. But when he took Superman and Lois, he's great. It ultimately, what I'm saying is, it ultimately comes down to the showrunner. That's the way I feel.
Right.
It comes down to the showrunner and their vision for the series. Stargirl, it benefits from having one of the comic writers, you know, being so hands-on with the show. And I mean, you can't say that the tone was lighthearted because we went from season 1
to like it was Eclipso, which gave us jump scares every episode. Although we did have the scene with I'm Too Sexy and the dog running around.
That's also true. But then we also did have the scene where Eclipso was just dogging out black people for 20 minutes. So
through like an 8-year-old kid.
Exactly.
That's true.
So I'm like, it ultimately depends on the showrunner and what the show calls for at the time. Because I mean, if you want to be completely honest, Didn't they try to do lighthearted stuff on Arrow, but it didn't work? But
They did try.
Green Arrow isn't a dark character.
Yeah.
They made him that way.
Right.
Supergirl went dark with Rain. It worked. They went back lighthearted, and it started to jump all over the place.
Yeah.
Flash did the same thing. We don't know what Superman and Lois and Stargirl is going to do down the line. Superman and Lois is hitting season 3, and season 3 is coming for Stargirl this summer. We don't. They can completely bomb. I mean, I hope not. Please, Lord, please, no. Don't bomb. But I mean, you never know.
Yeah. Gwendolyn agrees with you. That was a really good statement there, as well as Amethyst.
Oh no, I sort of disagree with it.
What do you think?
Well, I think Eric Wallace gave us the 3rd best season of The Flash. Which was season 6.
Season 6, yes, I agree.
And I reckon this season so far is one of the better ones as well. Like, I don't think it's better than season 6 so far, but Armageddon was great, and I'm liking what we're having with this storyline so far.
So at this point in season 6, what story were we on? We were done with Bloodwork.
We were
still on Bloodwork.
We still were on Bloodwork, were we? Okay,
yeah,
that was leading up to Crisis.
Yeah.
Like this upcoming week, we would have been leading into the next one, which was it wasn't really. I don't think the next one.
We were.
I can't remember what they did with season 6. Actually, season 6 had all those fun interlude or filler episodes. Remember, like Grodd and like that Grodd episode.
And the Wally one.
Wally.
Introducing
and then Mirror Master's introduced, but she doesn't probably become a proper villain.
I really didn't like the second half of season 6. I hate the resolution at it, which obviously was the beginning of season 7. Right. I thought it was just so all over the place. It's so weird because I don't count the first 3 episodes of season 7 as season 7. I
you always forget, You always forget, because like I think season 6 just ends. I can't remember what the ending. I think it's Iris just disappearing in the Mirrorverse or something like that. I think that's the end of season 6, but. Like,
no, I thought the end of season 6 was when they broke into the building and there was all that fighting in the red light and everything. Wasn't that?
Yeah, but then at the end of that episode, was that the end of season 6? No, that was it was. And then Thingo dies. Mirror Master kills Thingo, whatever his name is. Can't remember his name.
I'm going to go out on a limb and be edgy here and say that I think right now, with the exception of the interlude episodes, this has been Eric Wallace's best season so far of The Flash. Because I think Armageddon was way better than Bloodwork.
Well, even then, I think even with the interlude episodes, I thought that was so. Like, I think you enjoyed it. If I said, okay, Eric, picture this in your head with the Chucky Finster glasses.
Mm-hmm.
It's a CCPD bottle episode with Kramer and Barry and Goldface as the villain. What would you think going into that? What do you think you'd give the episode out of 10?
Like a 3. Like a 3 or 4.
What would you give the episode after watching it?
Well, I mean, I gave it like a C, which is like a 6 or 7.
Exactly. So it doubled your expectations.
Yeah. But I'm saying if we're talking about right now comparatively to season 6 where we were at, although I did like the Bloodwork storyline, for me, Armageddon was the best Flash content we've gotten since like season 3.
I think it's the 3rd best storyline the show's done.
So for me, I would say that alone raises this season up in my opinion.
It's already like at a very high positive.
And to be honest, I mean, I'm not hating what we're doing right now, which means if we continue at this level all the way to the end, it might end up being one of the best seasons.
Do you mean if we continue to level up?
No.
Okay.
No leveling up.
I have
because you know what I think. Oh no, you go, Lance. What are we gonna say?
No, I thought you can go ahead. I have a question before I jump off that.
Okay, I'll just quickly say. I think a lot of the criticism for Eric Wallace just comes through stuff he says outside of the show.
True.
Not what he actually puts on the screen, but some of the interview stuff. Like we already know the Notorious Flash podcast one from the I like to call it the train wreck. I'd like to call it the pile up. I'd like to call it the log through the front of the car window. Like it was
right.
Like Final Destination. It was Eric watches it when he needs to stay awake because it's like a nightmare.
Yeah.
Eric Wallace, like Eric can't go to sleep while watching that Eric Wallace interview. So I think he's improved with them, at least based off the recent interviews, but some were really bad. I think that's where a lot of the bad,
a lot of the podcast interviews have been very problematic for him.
Where he can just, where there's no editing, it's just all audio. It's just
so,
audio.
so I know Lance has to jump off. Anything you want to say before you head out? Because we're just going to answer these 2 super chats and then wrap it up. I think.
I wanted to just know really quick, what are your thoughts on the Crescent China like energy that I'm getting from Grant and Candace?
You mean like them not being together in scenes and not vibing very well?
The what energy?
The
Cress Williams China. And China McCain.
Oh, energy. I thought you said Chris and Jada.
He did not say that. Okay, we're talking about Black Lightning here. I will say that the end part of it, while they were like having a Zoom meeting in the episode, felt real to me because we know the world has been dealing with that for a long time. That part didn't bother me, but there is a huge disconnect, and the West Allen fans have noticed that it's been weird for like the last 3 weeks. So it feels like something's going on for sure.
And she's still not back on set.
Like, I mean, I saw her on Instagram today. She's at crypto.com arena watching the Lakers last night.
Yeah.
I mean, the Lakers lost, so is it worth it?
I don't know, but I will say this is the most concerned I've been about like Candace and the Flash in a long time, because she's been away from filming a lot this season. A lot. And it seems like a lot of her scenes were probably filmed all at one time, away from everyone else. Like they were trying to get her scenes done ahead of time.
Like Iris didn't even say bye to Barry. She just left.
Mm-hmm. That was, that's, I actually thought about that. The only person she told was Allegra, and she just was gone. Like, I'm out.
It feels really weird. It's like the episode before, like they would normally, kiss, say I love you or something, and it's just like,
you mean the breakfast thing they shared together, they were together in the morning or whatever?
Oh, yeah, because I was only in the previous episode. They didn't have a scene in this episode, did they? Outside of
the Zoom
meeting? Because for some reason I thought the calendar scene was at the beginning of this episode. It's like, no, wait, that was the last episode.
Yeah.
So
and then she wasn't in the episode before that.
She was in the stinger at the end, and that was it. Yeah.
And it was her and Joe.
Yeah.
Jessica Martin.
Interesting.
Eric, you might have to put on your Sherlock Holmes hat and head down to LA and do some investigating.
I might
maybe get a special vlog. Eric investigates.
Yeah, I was gonna say I might do a deep dive into this. Go through Instagram and
timeline
and do some thinking about it. So
any quotes?
Yeah, sources. I don't know. All right, I guess you're heading out, Lance. Thank you for being here.
Yep.
We'll see you next time. By the way, before you leave though, I want to remind everyone we did a Batwoman season 3 overview. It's about an hour long. It's on the channel now. If you want to hear us talk about our thoughts on Batwoman, what we'd like to see, what we thought about the season, possible renewals, anything like that, head over to the podcast from earlier this week and check us out then. Thank you, Lance, for being here.
No problem. Check y'all later.
All right. Let's see. We got 2 super chats to answer. We got one from Cody, $2 super chat. Team Eric member says Arrow all the way up to season 7 had Mark as showrunner. Who was the showrunner for season 8?
Beth Schwartz.
Oh, that's right. That is right. Yeah.
And then for the beginning of season 9, she was showrunner as well.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Multi-topic talk with a $2 super chat. I think Todd Hill being learned from the Flash. Do you think that's the case, or do you think he just has more creative control over?
I think it's just that he's showrunner from the get-go with Superman and Lois, so he can set up the show out how he wants, and it's much easier to produce a show when it's your vision. And like at this point, if you're under like Greg Berlanti Productions and stuff, Greg Berlanti's got like 74,000 million shows that he's doing.
Yeah.
So he would sort of help you in, the production stage at the beginning.
It may come as a shock to everyone, but not all of them are superhero shows. He's got a lot of shows out there that are not superhero related.
So I think it's just more creative control in his vision.
Yeah. So there we go. Thank you so much. Let me scroll down, make sure we didn't miss any Team Eric member chats. I don't think we did. I didn't see any. All right, 2 things I want to talk about before we head out. One is on Twitter, I've created an after party community, which is full of memes and hot takes from Paigey. And we're going to start setting that up and inviting people soon. The way it's going to work is, though, that Team Eric members, if you are a Team Eric member and you're on Twitter and you would like to be invited this week, just hit me up on Twitter. Let me know that it's you. and we'll invite you over to the community, and you will get mod status. And then we will start like accepting invites after that for everyone else. So that's over on Twitter. It's in the community section. It's posted on my Twitter feed. Look for the after party, and you can go ahead. You can request to join, but I'm going to be doing Team Eric members first so I can get mods in there so that it doesn't become the Wild Wild West. Is that a reference to Will Smith there? I don't.
Jim West Desperado slap you on the Oscars stage and yell at you very loud.
Yeah. And also something we're not ready to do anything with it yet, but Paigey and Jordan have started building this, and I've joined them. We're putting together or whatever.
To say I'm doing anything would be a stretch. I invited Eric.
There's going to be an after party Discord. It's already being set up. It should be ready to go soon. I will let you guys know more about that once we're ready to start inviting everybody over. If you're a Team Eric member, you will be getting perks on that Discord. We're going to talk about that this week and get it all sorted out. So if anybody would like to know more about that, we're over on Twitter. Just hit us up over there and we'll answer. Twitter's literally the easiest place to reach me, honestly. If you've requested to join and I have not accepted, and you are a Team Eric member and you would like to take part in the building process,
DM.
Yeah, just
DM with a screenshot that you're a member.
That you are who you say you are. And that's pretty much it. All right, so we're getting out of here. Paigey, any last minute things? I've got my finger on the end broadcast button because I feel like something edgy is coming.
Would you like a joke?
Okay, let's do a joke. End with a joke.
Who would you cast in G.I. Jane 2?
All right, we're out of here.